Hello everybody, Drifty here from Driftwood Gaming, and we are going to continue our Let's Make a Game series for the Dungeons of Driftwood. Welcome back everybody. If you're not familiar with the series, basically we just document the process of making an RPG in RPG Maker MV. This game that I'm making is called Dungeons of Driftwood, and I believe this is episode number 9. For those of you who know about the series and watched other episodes, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. Today we're going to talk about some of the changes, and I'll go over some of the things that I've added to the project, where the project currently is at, and future plans for the project. Also, I'm going to walk over some of the steps, including little mini tutorials on how to do some of the things that I've made in the game. So let's take a look at the game real quick here. You may notice that the beginning of the game has like a little intro scene now. Let's adjust the volume super fast. There we go. So we have like a little bit of an intro, here, and we've got rid of the square box at the beginning that does basically the same thing as this graphic menu does. Except now we have buttons we can click on to go to the options or load a game or go and start a new game. And this is all touchpad sensitive and also with the mouse. Alright, when we start, we have our little intro thing that lets us pick our starting weapon. And I've probably gone a little overboard with the weapon types. We have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different weapon types, which may seem like a decent amount, but in hindsight, that's a little bit too much, I feel. Because every time you want to make a weapon-specific skill, you encounter the problem with, well, if I want to make one skill for all the weapons, that's 9 skills I have to make, and their action sequences and the animations for them and the sound effects they use, and it becomes overwhelming. So in future projects, what I'll probably be doing is using less weapon types. I'll probably aim for like 5 or 6 different weapon types instead of 9. But needless to say, I have designed a weapon skill for each specific weapon. So they all have a different weapon skill with the action sequence and animation. I'm still, working on the final product for them, but they're all pretty much set up. They have their own damage formulas and everything. Let's just start off with the dagger here. After you select your weapon, we're running a common event that automatically equips whatever weapon you pick, and you're unable to unequip the weapon. So you can change your weapon, but you can't like have no weapon. And then you get to select an elemental affinity, and basically this is doing is letting you pick what your starting spell is going to be and adjust your starting skill variables. So if I were to select fire, then I'm going to have adding 5 to my fire magic skill variable as well as my fire resistance variable. So when I select fire, I'm going to take less damage from fire attacks aimed at me, and I'm going to do more damage with fire spells. I start the player right in front of the save point because you can't save anywhere in this title. It's been completely removed from the menu. So if you want to save the game, you have to come back to the save point and start a save file. So we'll go ahead and overwrite the first one here. Also, the save file will tell you most of your skill levels. It doesn't show your resistances here, but it does show your attack variables and stuff. Start the player right here in the hub, and we've got item synthesis, and I've gone over most of this, so I'm not going to retrace too much of the same ground. But we have lots of stuff for the player to choose from. Obviously, you're not going to have many of the things that you can that you need to buy stuff yet. But let's go ahead and enter a dungeon real quick. You may notice here, if you're following the series, that now we're presented with another option to select our difficulty. And what this is doing is selecting the next tier of enemies. So if you select the starter difficulty, then you're going to have a set of 10 different enemies that'll be in the random fights. But if you select the tier 2, then you're going to have a set of, which is going to be 10, it's currently 5 or 6 different enemies in the second tier. So there'll be about around 10 enemies for every tier, and there's probably going to be about 10 or 12, 10 to 12 different tiers. Right now, let's go starter difficulty because we just started and we would probably die otherwise. We get into a fight, it's a random dungeon, and you can see here we started with the dagger, so we're going to have a weapon skill try pierce, which is, we'll go over all of these in the database, but all of your weapon skills that are associated with the actual the weapon itself, you know, the weapon specific weapon skill, it's going to have 100 TP cost, with the max TP being at 100. So you basically have to fill up your TP. It's sort of your limit break. So every weapon's going to start with a limit break. So every no matter what, you're going to start with a cure magic. You're going to start with one elemental type of damage that you pick your elemental affinity. You're also going to start with a weapon skill depending on what weapon you pick. When you kill enemies and you open the box, the treasure chest at the end, you're gonna get a bronze weapon box, and that weapon box is gonna give you a random tier 1 weapon. So you'll be able to change your weapons. You're not locked in, you know, when you pick. And also, when you kill enemies, like this guy, for example, he's gonna drop a rock sprite essence, and if we get, I believe, 10 of these, we can learn the spell Stone. So we can actually, it doesn't like lock you in place your starting decision. It just kind of gives you a boost in that way. So if I were to select you know, katana or something at the beginning, I'm not forced into using a katana. I could always find a dagger or buy a dagger and so forth. But basically that's how we're going to handle that. Let's look at those weapon skills really quickly. I want to go over those skills. So when I made these weapon skills, with most of my skills, I have to build 2 different versions because I'm using custom variables for all of my player damages and everything to determine. I'm using variables in the damage formula, so to determine the final damage. I don't want the enemy's spells to get stronger because my character's better with fire. I don't want them to be able to hit me harder with fire magic, which is what would happen if I gave the enemy, say, this spell. So I had to make a copy of this spell, and I put it underneath it past 300 so that when enemies use the spell, they have the same basic spell but with a different damage formula. So this right here is the enemy's version, which is variable 42 is going to be our fire resistance. So we selected fire affinity at the beginning, which is going to increase our variable 42 by plus 10. So if we were to get hit by this, it's going to reduce damage from fire spells that the enemies would have. But if we go up here and we look at Fire 2 for the player version, you can see we have different variables that are being called into play. So we have our stats, and we have variable 1, which is elemental skill, and then variable 2, which is fire skill. So we also increase this one, so when we cast fire, it's going to increase the damage that's dealt by fire. So that's sort of how I handled it. Let's look at the weapon skills or limit breaks. Here they are. So the first one I designed was branding slash, and most of these follow the same, well, all of them follow the same multiple elements rule. And the element types, we have 3 specific types that all weapons are going to fall under: slashing, piercing, and blunt. Those are the 3 different types of damage. So it's either going to be like a slashing weapon, like would be a sword or something, a piercing weapon like a lance, excuse me, or like a blunt weapon like a mace or something to crush your enemies. For example, the branding slash is going to be a sword weapon, so it's going to have slashing. It's going to be a slashing attack, which is 14, I believe. So let's double check to see if that's right. 14 slashing, right. All of the weapons, the limit breaks, have a 50% chance to inflict a certain state. Like, for example, the branding slash is going to have a 50% chance to inflict bleeding. And I'm going to go over to states, and I'll show you some of the changes that I've made with states in a second. The damage formulas are quite a bit stronger than your regular attacks because the TP costs are set to 100. So they're basically, if you're gonna fight a boss or something, and every dungeon has 5 fights, and then a little mini boss at the end, which is 5 levels higher than you. A good strategy would be to save your TP for the mini boss fight, and then use your weapon skill on the mini boss, and that'll be able to. That's a way that you can get past the mini bosses. So I'm giving the player a way to kill those harder enemies at the end by saving up their TP cost. And all of the weapon skills are reflecting a variable too. So variable 22 is going to be our sword skill. So if the player has a higher sword skill, then they'll be able to do more damage with their branding slash. All of your weapon skills start at level 1 at the beginning. And as you kill the mini bosses, there's chances that you can find skill ups. So even if you don't level up, you can still level your skills up by adding to the variables and stuff. Lacerating strikes. This is going to be for the whip. The whip class is this, and I went with blunt for the whip type damage. It's kind of hard to determine what is a whip. Is it piercing? No, not really. Is it slashing? I don't really think so. Is it blunt? I don't know for sure, but that's the best. That's the best that we can associate it with one of those three. So I went with blunt damage for the whip. Made a state called lacerated, which I believe reduces evasion. Yeah, it reduces defense and evasion. And I renamed defense to vitality since I've made a variable called defense that handles damage reduction. Then we've got Genpu, which is our katana weapon skill, which is going to add dizzy. It's using the katana weapon skill and attack power. And it's got a weapon skill, what is it, action sequence that I actually made in a different game, brought it over here, changed the skill around. All of these fall under the skill type of weapon skill, so that I've allowed weapon skills to be used in tandem to the skill system, to where you can only have 4 equipped at a time, which you can unlock more with items as you find them. And all enemies will drop a ton of items. Guaranteed 1 item, 50% chance on another item, and then there's just several different items that you can get from fighting enemies. This is going to cause dizzy, which is like a wind attack poison. Pack punch is going to be a 50% chance to stun, which is a really good one actually, because you can incapacitate the enemy and basically hit him with the if you get the stun on the pack punch, then you'll end up getting a couple rounds if you get that stun off of them. So it could be used defensively. Claw's a good choice to go if you want to be more of a defense fighter, as well as the lance, because lance is the only weapon skill that actually uses your defense as an attack modifier. But we'll get there in a second. Let's work our way up to upstrike. This is a weapon skill that takes your magic attack power into consideration. All of them use the variable associated with their weapon type. Require staff for this one, and it's 50% chance to blind. If you're going to be focusing on a lot on a magic attack power, you're probably going to have slightly less defense than if you did it. So it would be a good idea to put an accuracy debuff on your enemy when for this weapon skill. So 50% chance to blind. I'm sure you guys know what blind does. 50% chance to extra accuracy reduction. Dual Crush is the axe weapon skill, and this is going to be 2 attacks. Basically, hits twice with the axe. So I believe it has. Let's look at the action sequence. Is it action effect? An action effect, right. So it's a chance to attack, or it attacks twice, so we're going to reduce this to 25% chance on each time. Same thing with this, requires axe, using axe skill. The Tri-Pierce is 3 triple attack, so it's going to swing 3 times. And because I added these for the enemy as well, but they have different damage formula, you see they're being reduced by the defense variable here, as well as they take less TP. Actually, still some things I need to go over. All right, so that they're going to take half the TP for the enemies to use as the players would, because they're quite a bit weaker than the player version. And there was, what else did I do? I reduced the dual crush, yeah. So instead of 2 chances, 50% each, almost a guaranteed chance to add that state, now it's 50% chance that lines up with the rest of them. So moving on, Try Pierce, it's a 3-hit combo with the dagger. It's using dagger variable, and it's using agility and attack power and the damage formula. And it has a chance to inflict shock, which is basically like a lightning type poison effect. And it's got its action sequence there. Rage Lance is a quadra hit, so it's going to attack 4 times, and it's got a roughly 50% chance to inflict bleeding, which reduces physical damage resistance. It increases the damage that they're going to take from physical attacks by 10%. And it does damage over time, so that's another thing. And they all have, like I said, this will be a piercing. Guard Breaker, this is a pretty good one for the flail, which is going to reduce the defense, the vitality of the enemy, as well as reducing their guard 100%. So if you come across an enemy that uses a guard, which won't happen very often, it'll completely break the guard anyway. But I need to check that because I was wondering, I thought about it after I made it yesterday. And I was thinking, I wonder if when using this, is it going to, because it's going to hit, it's going to be applied on the enemy. So the enemy's guard effect will be 0. Yeah, so it'll work fine. It's going to reduce their guard effect to 0%. For 5 turns, as well as drop their defense by 25%. So that's pretty significant. But now that we're moving on to the states, I'm using Yanfly's state animation plugin, which is really cool, by the way. You should check it out. I'll put a link in the description for that plugin. What I like about this plugin is it makes the game look more visual. You don't have to make SV motion animations for if you want a state to apply an animation. Now you can just specify which animation is being played by the priority. So the higher the priority, the more likely it's going to be that that state is the one that shows the animation. But it's a really simple note tag. You just put in brackets state animation : and then the number of the animation you want to loop. And then if they have this state on them, it's going to show this animation over and over on top of the icon if you have the other plugins installed as well. But I've applied a state animation to most of the states, most of the main states. Like all of these burning, they're going to have like a fire animation, bleeding, chilled, shock. All of these poison type effects are going to have a weapon, or not a weapon, but a state animation. Also like lacerated and... Actually, I should make one for Hex as well. Let's see, I've made one for Diseased, Paralyzed, Stun. I didn't make one for Regen, Refresh, or Regain because you're going to see the numbers moving, so it still has its pop-ups that play to inform the player that things are happening and their state's working. Confusion, Berserk, Silence, Blind, the majority of them have state animations. And I've made custom animations, but they're just modified versions of other animations that are in the game. So all of these from 143 to 162 are primarily used for state animations, and they're quicker versions. So I've reduced them to like 5 to 10 frames so that they play faster and they look better. They also don't play sound effects, as far as I remember, so you don't hear that sound effects being spammed over and over and over and over. That can get annoying. It just shows the animation, which would look pretty cool. Just run through them really quick. You can see they're really short. And that's sort of what I wanted so that it doesn't play a long animation. I kind of wanted a shorter animation for all of the state effects. Those are the ones I've created so far. I'll probably make a few more. I'll probably make Hexed later on. But yeah, that's a really cool plugin that I recommend getting, the state animation plugin from Yanfly. Alright, so that's basically the gist of the skills. Let's talk about how I did that intro. So I'm using some plugins for the intro. I'm skipping the title screen completely. So I'm using DK skip title screen. Really easy plugin. Just look it up. You'll find it. I'll put a link in the description for it. It's a really simple plugin. It just skips the title screen and goes to the character's starting map location. So in order for this to work, you have to make like your own title screen on a map. So you put this, you install this plugin here, really simple, and you can specify if it'll skip the title screen if there's a save file or not. So if you do it this way, you'll have to change the default of false to true so that once you save the game, it still skips the title screen. And then you select what you want, what scene you want it to call from the beginning. So if you put scene map, which I believe this is the default, it's going to go to the first map that is set for the character starting position. What I mean is if you right click and say set starting position player here, then that's going to put the player on that map right from the beginning. You hit play, you'll go there. Won't no title screen at all. But you have to figure out some way for the player to save and load and basically load if you're skipping the title screen completely, and a way for the player to make a new game and basically create your menu. So how I went about handling that is I created a new map and I called it start screen. And basically I have this title screen image that I put into Parallax. So if I go to game and I open folder here, inside the IMG, inside the system, I've got the intro. And it's actually, I had it in titles 1. So when I started the game, it was calling on this title, but we're skipping the title screen, so it's no longer going to use this, so it's just going to jump to a map. But how do you make the title screen on a map? Well, basically you can copy the map, the title that you want to use. You go into your parallaxes and you paste it inside the parallaxes. And what that's going to do is it's going to let it show up when you go to the properties for the map. So you edit the map here and you go to parallax background image, and then you'll be able to select it from here. I had to edit in Photoshop a little bit so that it matches up a little bit better. So I just got rid of the border that was on it. And we're going to show it in the editor so we know that that's the map that's got the background. You also want to change the width and the height to match whatever size your title art is. And that's basically all that's happening. And if it's I mean, I don't see why you'd want to loop horizontally or vertically, because then it would scroll off the screen. But if you have a specific kind of like abstract art with no letters or anything, you could do that. That would work. But basically what's happening here is this is the player's starting position. So we're skipping the title screen, we're jumping to scene map, and that's going to make us jump to wherever we set our player starting position, which is here. On this map, we've got nothing happening, right? But we have parallax background, so it's showing this in the background. But we're not be able to walk over anything here because it's all like blocked, right? These are empty tiles. There's nothing for the player to walk on. So we use another plugin in order to let the player have a move event, because we want the player to like walk up down the tunnel or something. So in order to do that, I'm using Yanfly's region restriction plugin. Let's see if I can find it here. Region restrictions. So Yanfly's region restrictions plugin, you go to the parameters here and you can select player allow or all allow. And basically you pick a number, and this is going to be the region that you're going to paint in order to let the game know that the player can walk over these tiles. So I've just selected 77, a high number that I'm not using for anything else. You can put whatever number you want here as long as it's not being used for something else. Select that parameter. And then you go to the draw layer, which is right here. You go over to the R, which is for regions. And then you pick that number you selected from 1 to 255. And you just draw wherever you want the player to be able to walk to. So since I have a move event in this auto run event that's just going to make the player walk up here, I've only made a line of 77. The player won't be able to move because it's being controlled by an auto run event. But if you tell the player to walk up and they cannot walk up, if skip if not complete is on, the game's just going to lock up right there and freeze. So we have to allow the player to move up here even though the player has no control. So we're using region restriction to control that. We're skipping the title, so we're put here, region restriction, so we could walk. All right, let's move on to the auto run event. In this auto run event, what we're doing is we're playing background sound, which is completely optional, just to have like water dripping, which kind of fit the way it looks. There's like sort of like a little canals in the side here, which is, I guess it's open to interpretation, but it looks like it's a cave or some sort of sewer almost. Then the water, I thought it fit, so we're using that. Then I'm setting a movement route, which I'm selecting the player as the target for the moving. I'm reducing the player's speed here. So I'm changing speed from 4, which is a starting speed, to 3, so that the player moves up slower. So it looks like he's not running into the dungeon, he's just walking into the dungeon. Then I'm moving him up, a total of 6 tiles. I'm turning on transparent so that then the player disappears when he moves up 6 times. And then I'm resetting the speed back to 4. If you don't do this last part and change the speed back, when you teleport the player or transfer the player to the map, he's still going to be reduced speed. So if you want to control how fast the player is and reduce your speed, you can make a move event that reduces the speed and just leave it. And then the players, you control how fast or slow they move, simply like that. But we're not doing skip if cannot move because we've set up our pathing with region restrictions so that we can walk up those 6 times and then disappear, which is turning the transfer event. After that, we're showing some pictures. Now here's how I've made the starting intro with the start continue options thing. I'm basically using another one of Yanfly's plugins. Really awesome plugin. I really love it. Yanfly's picture comment events. So this is super awesome. Basically, you set up, you have a picture comment event for up to 100 pictures since the game, for some reason, is limited to 100 pictures. I don't know why. It makes making a card game a lot harder than I want it to be by limiting it to 100, because you're probably going to have closer to 300 or 400 pictures in a card game or something like that. Maybe there'll be an expansion plugin that lets us show. It would probably, since it's handled in the engine, it'd be best if they just, in version 1.4, increase the number of pictures that can be drawn to 300, 400, 500. Why not 999 pictures being able to shown? Because it's not like you're going to assign all 1,000 of them at the same time, but you could. I mean, we're upgraded to Pixie version 4 here. I mean, I think a lot of computers can actually handle a lot of stuff going on at the same time. Maybe not all the phones out, but you got to think in the future they're going to be capable of handling more than 100 pictures. So come on, Katakawa, let's get more than 100 pictures. All right, so moving on to the picture comment events parameters, how you set up this plugin. It's basically plug and play. It's super easy. You select what picture number you want to associate with each comment event. So the value is going to call on that comment event. So picture 1 click. You can specify what happens when they hold on it, when they release the mouse button, when they, or, you know, on the screen, the tap and release, if they repeat on it. What you want to happen. So I want the player to instantly call the comment event as soon as they click on it. So I've selected picture 1 click and I put the value of 23 inside here. So this value is going to call on that comment event. And picture number 2, the same thing. As soon as they click on it, we're going to call on value 21. Picture number 3 is going to call on 24 comment event. Let's look at those comment events. That's all you really need is those 3 for this thing. But that's because we're not making a card game here. So let's go to our common events and look at those common events we created. So for load game, which is 21, all we're doing is creating a new event, and we're going to go to advanced and click script. And inside the script right here, we're just going to push a scene. So in order to call the load scene, all you have to do is type scene manager.push and in parentheses scene underscore load with an inline. It is capital sensitive, so you have to put capital S, capital M, and then capital S on scene, capital L on load right here. It is very cap sensitive in JavaScript. So you just copy that. I guess I'll annotate that so you can get a better look at that. For the start game, basically we're erasing pictures here. So when we start, we click on start game, it's going to transfer the player to the next screen. right here, but it's still going to say start game, continue, and options if we don't erase those pictures. So we just basically go to, I think, flow control. Oh no, just picture right here on tab 2, and you just erase picture, and that gets rid of them. Inside the plugin parameters of Yanfly's picture common events, you have some options that you may need to toggle in order for this to work. So enable touch move right here, true, and hide message, true. What this is going to do is hide all of the pictures that are being shown when you're running a common event that has been triggered by clicking on one of the pictures. So with this, if this was set to false, when we click on the options menu, it's still going to say start game, continue options when it's showing the options, and it'll just not look right. So if this is set to false, I forgot which, oh, default is true, so it's already true. So this is fine. You want to leave this true. That way when you click on options or continue, it doesn't show those 3 pictures still. Enable touch move when this is sort of like freeze. You want the character to be stuck where they're at when the picture is being the common event is being called. True. It doesn't matter in this instance. You probably want to set this to false if you're going to have some sort of like you want the player to get locked down when you're clicking on buttons, so that the pictures I don't know. You might want to change this to false. For this instance, true is fine. Back to those common events. I'll show you the rest of the start game. So what we're doing is the background sound of the dripping thing, we're turning that off because we're going to be transferred to another map, so we don't want that sound effect to continue past the start screen. So we're going to transfer the player here, and we're moving them to the place that you actually want them to start when they start a new game, and direction down. So this is basically loading scene map if you didn't have your intro, your custom intro, and you would start player position where you actually want them to start. Simple transfer event, I'm sure you understand that. Then we're going to wait 15 frames. I don't know why I put this in here. I think it's just so that it gives everything a chance to load before it shows animation and shows the player again. You could eliminate the wait if you feel like it's unnecessary. Showing an animation, just whenever you transfer the player, it's not a bad idea to show an animation so that like it looks more graphical and it just looks a little better. Then transparency off, because if you remember when we walked up to right here inside of our move event, the player is going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and disappear. The player, when you transfer them, will still be invisible, so we need to turn transparency off. So they're transferring, the map changes, shows an animation, turns off the background sound, and the player is visible. And that's what happens when you click on Start Game. It's erasing those pictures as well. On the options, to call options, it's just a simple script under tab 3 at the bottom. And we're doing the same thing. We're using Scene Manager and we're pushing scene options. I guess I can annotate this too, so people who are watching on smaller screens can get this code. It is cap sensitive once again. And that's sort of how I handled the intro scene. Not too complicated really. We're just using a couple plugins. We're using Yanfly's picture common events, which is needed to, unless you you actually don't need it to skip the intro and have a scene like this, but it makes it so much cooler. How I made the art for those is just I went into Photoshop and I put some text that would match the resolution I want, and I put some filters over it, and nothing fancy, simple Photoshop skills. I'm sure I could probably make even better ones if I tried a little bit harder on that. But basically, just get it the size you want. Keep in mind the size of your screen, and you can adjust that with the core engine with the screen width and height right here, which I'm just doing standard HD with 720, 1280 by 720, so it's 720p. And so I'm using 90 frames right here, and 90 frames, and I'm jumping the picture alignment 100 frames. As a matter of fact, we could look at that show picture from the beginning. So when we call on this, when we start the game, what's happening is I'm showing pictures, but let's look at what I'm doing here. So I'm centering the origin. I'm placing picture number 1 with the start image graphic. and I'm setting the designation halfway across the screen on the X. So I'm centering it so the middle of this animation will be halfway. So you just cut your resolution in half. If I'm 1280, then 640 is half of 1280, and the center of that picture is going to be in the center of the screen. So this is perfectly centered. And I'm doing 720. So if I wanted to cut that in half, I would do 360. So this is directly in the middle. So the start game is directly in the center of the screen, and I don't have to worry about messing with it since we're centering the origin. It doesn't matter the size of the picture really. But I'm using, I think it is 320 or 360 by 90 as for the size of the image itself. I could even change the blend mode. Let's do that. Let's change the blend mode to see what it looks like. Let's go to additive, because I'm just curious now. And on the second picture, what I've done is I've added 100. So the picture is 90 frames, but I'm giving a 10 frame buffer in between the start game and the continue. And the same thing with the third one, the options, a 10 frame buffer. So it's 90 frames, but I've upped the Y to 100, because if you remember, when you add to the Y axis, it's moving down. And when you add to the X axis, it's moving to the right. So 0, 0 is up here, and 1280 by 720 is all the way down here. So that's sort of how it works. I'm adding to the Y, it's pushing it down with a 10 frame buffer. So we've got a blend mode here. We could even change the opacity if we wanted to, but I don't think I want to do that. Let's look at the game here with the blend mode of additive. Let's see what happens. So there's our auto run event, and because of region events, we're able to walk up. So with additive here, it looks a little more see-through, which I'm actually a fan of. It looks pretty nice. So if we didn't have the parameters set to erase the pictures when we click on it, see right now a common event is running currently. So we called on a common event that that's pushing a scene, right? So we're looking at our options scene, or scene underscore options. So the pictures have disappeared. If we had that value set to false, then it would still show those pictures right there, which is not what we want. So we can change our options here. We right click or escape to go back. We can click on continue. Same thing, it would still show those pictures if we didn't configure that right. In start game, it's going to turn off the sound effects. It's going to transport the player, turn off transparency, and basically auto runs in this map start this little event where we select our weapons and our affinities. All right. I actually like the regular version a little bit better, because you can see a little bit better. But I just want to look at how is it going to appear if we change the blend mode to multiply, because a lot of game development is trial and error, is trying different things and seeing what looks best and what feels best. Let's look at multiply. Obviously not going to go with multiply because it's too dark. I want these buttons to pop out so the player can see them. I mean, it's clear the pictures are big enough to where this would work, but it's just too dark. I think there's one more blend mode that we can take a look at and see what screen blend mode does. I think this is going to make it really bright. So let's take a look at how this appears. About the same. Yeah, it's not too much of a difference. I'm going to go with the normal blend mode so that it looks just like the pictures. Also, these pictures will scale with the resolution. So if you go full screen, it's not going to keep the small size. They're going to be stretched to the resolution because it's just how it works. All right. Let's go back and change these to their initial blend mode of normal. I felt like that looked the best in my opinion. And we'll keep that. We could also make them more invisible by reducing opacity here if we wanted to. We could scale them too. We could make it look smaller or bigger, which is really cool. So you don't have to Photoshop and change the size of the pictures. You could, if you made them a little too small, a little too big, you could just scale them right here. No big deal. But I feel I want them to be large icons, which is It's sort of pretty much what I want them to be. I like that. I might actually make them scale them down and make a fourth thing or a fifth thing if I want, but most likely I'll just put like a little button right here to go to the YouTube page or go to the website driftwoodgaming.com, or like, you know what I mean, little buttons, not like on the main menu, just on the side somewhere or at the bottom, so that if players want, they can quickly link to the website or whatever. What I want to do is show you the weapon skills and the state animations real quick. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go to the weapon skills and, yeah, reduce the TP cost. I think I already started to do that there. So this is, yeah, this is for the player, because the enemy ones are all the way down here, which these should all be 50. Double check really fast, and they are great. And these should all be 100, but what we're going to do is reduce the TP cost to 0, just because I want to show them to you. They're nothing super fancy, but they're all a little different. And I'm definitely going to change the animations on some. Like, I think, what is it, Pack Punch? This one, we're gonna try some other animations and test some things really quick. Let's go with maybe one of Yanfly's animations. Star 1, let's just see what that looks like. And then Upstrike, Ruin 1. Yeah, I'll probably make custom animations for all these. Oh wait, did I even change the numbers? No. Okay, 0 on that. 0 on that, 0 on that. Okay, cool. Alright, what I'm going to do is inside the starting area, just make a treasure chest right here. And instead of adding all the items one by one, I'll just add some. Actually, I want to actually add the weapons themselves. That way, I don't have to open 50 boxes to get the last weapon. Copy this, paste this, save a little time maybe, and then select the bronze sword, paste it again. We're not using guns. I actually added the gun weapon skills from Legend of Driftwood, so we might add guns, but like I said, the more weapons you add, the harder it is when it comes to designing skills, because if you want them to feel like unique weapons, they're going to need their own skills and like weapon restrictions and stuff. Definitely not going to be using harps in this game. Same reason, just there's a word for it. When you give your players too many options, it's a bad thing. You may think, I want a lot of options, which options are good, but you give too many options, it's a detractor, because you're overwhelming the player with too many things, and they don't know which one to go for, or even often they just think, okay, this is too much learning, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's all of them. What's the word for it? It's like analysis overload. I think that's the term. There's too much to learn too quick. So I'm gonna include little tutorials, but I don't want to, obviously don't want to overload the player with too many things to do. That's why I've removed some things from the game. Like I've removed a couple skills. A good thing about the weapon skills is you don't have to equip them. They're already set. If we go to our skills, we have a different tab for weapon skills, and this will change depending on what weapon you have equipped. After I show you the animations, I'll show you how I handled it inside the database as well. So we've got our weapon skills. Normally it would cost 100, but we're going to just go ahead and use it. They're not super fancy. They're just little animations that give them some sort of custom feel, so they don't just look like a regular attack. I'm obviously going to change the animations, maybe edit the action sequences as well. I forgot to change weapons. Okay. Let's change our weapon here. So we'll equip to the sword here. And these fights are super easy if you're able to spam these weapon skills, but keep in mind these weapon skills are going to cost 100 TP. So that's for the sword there. Nice little effect. I probably won't change that one because I like how that one came out. And that's a simple action sequence of the attack, but it's got a good animation so that it looks pretty neat. So we did the dagger, the sword. Let's go ahead and do the katana one, which is more of a beam sword, really. I was a little disappointed that we didn't get Yanfly's katana. We got beam swords instead of katanas, which I'm okay with. He's done so much. You can't expect the world from one person. And I could always make them myself. It's, you know, lazy. I'm lazy. I'll be the first to admit. So this is our weapon skill. It just has the jump attack, the slash animation, and then it shows like a little whirlwind. Pretty cool. I like that one. I really do. I probably won't change that one too much. Let's go ahead and go to the staff. And these fights are optional. You really just need to hit that switch and then go to the chest. And you don't even have to fight the boss at the end. Matter of fact, if you don't have the weapon skill, you might want to exit the dungeon and just go back in to get a few upgrades first. You can also select your difficulty, and I'll show you the next difficulty level after this. Here's our upstrike, which is our... So basically just launches, we got a critical there, launches the enemy in the air, and then when they come back down, they take a little bit of a magic attack animation. Show you that one more time. Pretty strong. This one is going to scale up in damage because when we equipped our skills, so we'll go to equip skills, and you can see that equipping the skills are going to give you bonuses. So just by equipping fire, we've got 5 more wisdom, which is our magic attack power, and the weapon skills, the weapon damage formula for staff and its upstrike skill is based completely on wisdom, which is magic attack power. So by equipping the staff, giving us 30 more wisdom, and the spell fire giving us 5 more, our magic attack power is going up quite a bit. You can see our wisdom's pretty high right here at level 15. Let's go ahead and try the next one. Flail here. I'm kind of wondering why these cracks are so bright in the wall. I might change that. It's got a critical there. Guard break, it's going to reduce, I think I already went over it, reduce the defense, which is vitality, by 25%. Go over that one more time. Boom. Knock them around. So the weapon skills, I want them to be strong because you're not going to be able to spam them like this. They're going to cost 100 TP. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and do the next one. Flail. Let's do the claw. This is the one that I haven't found a good animation for yet. Yeah, there's something funny about these, the crack in the wall there. Boom. I mean, that's not terrible. I might keep that little flash animation. Now, I did design these maps. I should probably know where I put the darn switch. I only have 5. I can see me getting confused when I have 100, but I only have 5. Obviously, the T-Rex lighting, I'm really happy, is working because it makes it so that you have to search for the lever to unlock the gate. Yeah, there's something funny with the way that this looks. This changed recently. This must have been changed in 1.3. I don't see how it would affect the map. I didn't change the map for this. but it looks like these are too bright. Let's get into a fight here. I forgot to change our weapon skill. And this is a boss, so he's 5 levels higher, but still no match when you have 100 TP. So that's a good thing. I didn't want these fights to be super duper hard. I just wanted them to be more of a challenge. Obviously, if you didn't have that weapon skill, it'd be a lot harder. So you might want to save up your TP for that. Let's go ahead and equip. I think there's axe and spear. So let's go ahead and do the axe. Starter difficulty. Let's do a different dungeon. We already did this one. I mean, the monsters will be there again because when you leave, they reset. But I just want to run through a different design. Here's dual crush. Wham, bam. Nice. And let's do the last one real quick here. The spear. This is a quadra attack. So I had to reduce the damage quite a bit, but it still averages out to about the same. Rage Lance, because it's going to hit 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's about the same amount of damage. Alright, so that's the weapons. What I want to do now is show you the state animations. So how could I do this quickly? Let's go ahead and go to skills and make a skill, and we'll call it state anims. And we'll leave it blank. What we're going to do is just make it add state. Let's see, poison, blind. It's only going to play, it's actually only going to play the animation with the highest priority. I guess I could just keep removing it. We're not going to go through all of them. We'll go through some of them. Because I just want to demonstrate how it works and how it looks if you're curious about how state animations work and what is state animation. It's pretty self-explanatory, really. And we'll just add like one of these. We'll just go with like soaked. Okay. Actually, I need to give the character that skill. We're gonna make this skill a weapon skill. That way, we'll be able to use it automatically. We're gonna get rid of it, of course, and we'll go here and just add that skill super fast. Add skill, and I put it somewhere around here. State anims. Okay. So we'll start with it. And I want to skip right to the dungeon, but then variables won't be declared and we'll have errors. So we have to go through. Start our game. Okay. Also, I had an issue right here with the tile set. Well, not really an issue. I just, instead of changing the tile set, there's a way you can make it so that you can walk over tiles without changing them, so that if you want this animation to be blocked, or this tile to be blocked on one map, but let the player walk over it on another map, you can do that. And basically you just use the region restriction, and in the tile set, you mark an X so you can't walk over it, but then on the particular area that you want the player to be able to walk over it, what you do is you paint it, just like we did at the intro with state 77. Okay, you can see that it's showing the states that are happening right there, and you can sort of see them, but the animation, the quick animation that he's burning right here is playing right there. So you can see that he's got multiple states on him, but it's only showing one animation of the top one, which actually this isn't the burning animation. This is probably the berserk animation, because it's gonna play. It should be playing the highest priority. Let's look at the priority on berserk. 70. Yeah, so it's Aura Confusion 75, 80, 90s on sleep. There's one of the whatever highest priority. It seems like it was playing this one the most, 155. Let's look at that super quick. Berserk. It was playing this one. For some reason, that was taking precedence. It could have, maybe the particular enemy I fought had state resistance or something like that. But anyway, what I want to do here is edit the skill and remove the Berserk one, and just to see the next animation, as well as show you how I did that thing right here. So, like I said, if you want if you want one of your tile sets to block, what's the tile set for this? This is tile set 12. So we'll go to our database and look at tile set number 12. This is our tile set 12. So if we want, you see how we have an X right here? That's making it so that the player can't walk over that tile. So when I walk up, you're going to get blocked right here. You won't be able to walk up, which is fine. But what if in a particular location you want the player to walk over that? Or there's a hidden location. You can leave this X so that whenever you paint this animation in another place, which actually should be 0 now that I think about it, because it's mostly blank. Probably just a little error there. But basically you make the X where you want. You could do this in walls, and then the player won't be able to walk over it. Like right here, this X on these two, you could have it like these two X's and this is against a wall or something, but there's a hidden tunnel there. So you leave it X so that every time the player comes across this event, they'll notice, and logically it's a statue, you can't walk through the statue. But what if you want to make a hidden location to where in this particular spot they could walk through the statue? Well, you do region restrictions, and we've did that in the plugin here. And we've set state 77 to be player allow. So the player can walk through state 77, and you just paint 77 where you want the player to walk through. So the player is able to walk right through the location that would normally be X'd out. And that's all there is to it. Really simple way to make a hidden location as well. All right, let's do this state animation a couple more times just to go look at a couple different animations. And I do have an idea of how to speed this up, but we're already running out of time. It's not a big deal. You guys seen state animations? Oh yeah, well I'll show you one more thing, because I don't want this to go too long. So we'll use our state animation here, and now we've removed Berserk, so it's showing the next priority, which is paralysis. So I believe this is stun or paralysis. And so now we've got this animation that shows he's locked up. He can't make any action. So if we guard, he's still going to do nothing, because now he's no longer paralyzed, but that state wore off, but he's still silenced. So he's unable to make any spells. So we've got that state animation going on. And if we wait around, I'm sure that one will wear off as well. You see, he's blinded as well. So he's got a cloud of darkness around him. He can't really see what's going on. His accuracy is being... Isn't this really awesome? The state animations plugin. Thank you, Yanfly, for all the stuff you do for us here. Blind wore off, but he's poisoned, so he's taking some damage from poison. He's also... okay, all the states have wore off now, but that's going to do it for that. Alright, there was one more thing I wanted to show, was the next tier of enemies. You've pretty much seen most of the enemies that we can encounter throughout the past episodes. I think this is episode number 9. So by now you've seen the first set, but I don't think I've shown off any of the second set of enemies. So we'll just go ahead and pick sword here, and we'll just pick whatever elemental. Oh, activated the save point, which is sort of what I wanted, the player to be right in front of the save point, so you can clearly see this is how you save the game. Also, it restores your HP and MP. So now we're going to select tier 2. It's going to pick the same dungeons, so no matter what difficulty you pick, you're going to have the 100 dungeons or whatever. Right now it's only 5, but you're going to have the 100 dungeons, or no, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 to pick from. But the enemy clouds themselves change depending on the tier you select. So there's conditional statements inside that, and that'll let you select the next tier. Now obviously we just started the game, These things are going to be super hard, but I've got a OP skill that puts a bunch of states on the enemy, so this shouldn't be too hard to dispatch these. Kind of just want to, I guess I could weapon skill here and just take him out super quick. And maybe get some different enemies here. So that was the Venom, a Venom bat. Here's another one. This one actually is one of the enemies that uses a weapon skill, the lacerating strikes. I want to guard and see if he'll use it. See how much damage, if it doesn't kill me. He uses emboldened too. So this, the next tier get new spells. So as the enemies get harder and harder tiers, they're going to have more and more abilities and skills. So by the time you get to tier 10, the enemies are going to have like 8 different skills that they can use and bad combinations, more status effects depending on the difficulty that you select. Actually got the bleeding effect on that. I took out the battle music right now, but we're going to have battle music for sure. Yeah, that's some of the... There's still a few more enemies, but I think I'm going to end the episode right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy this sort of Let's Make a Game development update content, please give it a thumbs up. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. All of that stuff is really appreciated. You guys are awesome. I do this for you guys. Hopefully, if you guys want to get more involved with the indie game dev scene, you can go to driftwoodgaming.com and join the forums and hook up with some people and, you know, work on a project. Who knows where it'll lead? Network's important. It is about who you know, so introduce yourself and meet some more people. It's a good idea, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any special requests, comments, put them below. You know where they go. Thumbs up if you like this video. We'll see you in the next episode of Let's Make a Game. Bye, guys.